Question 9, which is a factor of x to the fourth minus x cubed minus 6x squared? Well, there's a couple ways to determine that. So a factor has a remainder of 0. So you could switch all the signs and plug in -3. You can plug in +1, 2, or -2 and see which one gives you 0. So when I say plug in, I mean use synthetic division or the remainder theorem. My advice on that one is just going to use the remainder theorem. So I would just plug in, let's say -3 into x to the fourth minus x cubed, so -3 cubed, minus 6 -3 squared. See what you get. And then do the same thing with 1. And the other ones as well. So you can see we'd have to plug in those numbers in for all your x's. Let's see what that looks like. Use your calculator. Well, in this case here, if I plug in -3, I get 54. So that's no good. So I'm going to copy that into the next line. Then we're going to type in 1 for all my x's. So if I plug in 1, remember we're doing the opposites of what's in the parentheses. So that gives me a number closer to 0, but again, it's not 0, so that's not a factor. So let's plug in 2. So x minus 2 gives you opposite of 2. That gives you -16. So it looks like -2. Let's make all those negative. And you end up getting 0 when you plug in -2. So that tells you x plus 2 is a factor. X plus 2 is a factor. So since x plus 2 is a factor, that's going to be your answer, since that gives you a remainder of 0. Now, you can also do this with a graph. You have to know what you're looking for, but if I were to graph this function here and do x to the fourth power minus x to the third power minus 6x squared, you can see that it crosses the x-axis at -2, 0, and also 3. So I actually know what my factors are. My factors are going to be x plus 2. When it crosses at 0, that factor is just x. I'm going to put an x out here. And then when it crosses at 3, my factor is going to be x minus 3. Now this one has, additional things going on with it, but you can see that it crosses at -2, 0, and 3. So my factors are x, x plus 2, x minus 3. If you want to get all technical, since that has a double root at 0 for my original graph, I'm going to want that x to be raised to the second power. So that's kind of the factored form. And as you can see, x plus 2 is the factor that aligns with this answer choice. None of the other ones give you that same one.